Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Mentorship Edition. Ish and I are looking forward to talking with Adam Ivy, AdamIvy.com, Chief Executive Officer at Sell Music Academy, marketing mentor, and music producer. You know, Adam, one of the things I'm excited to talk to you about is, you get tired of the corporate grind. We hear this all the time, right? And you decide, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to start a business that is completely in alignment with me. We're seeing more of that, I think, post-pandemic. And so take us back to the moment you decided, I'm done. I'm starting my own business.
Thank you for having me first.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
I've been producing music since 2006, realistically 2005 with some, free demo software. But, fast forward to, 2015, I'm making a full-time income, selling music online, selling beats and instrumentals to not only artists, but also doing some sync licensing stuff, getting music on commercials and in reality TV shows and whatnot. And all of a sudden, some of my producer friends who I saw struggling were asking me the right questions finally, and I was helping them. And then it came to a point where someone emailed me that was a friend of a friend, and I had already been very busy working a corporate gig with corporate marketing contracts with Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies, government contracts, random crap, right? Veterinarians' offices, whoever needed some help. I was doing some consulting and brand development and marketing, marketing manager, marketing director, all these different titles that really mean nothing depending on what you're doing. And I found myself really passionate about helping people with their music branding. So I was helping producer friends of mine get more engagement on YouTube, get more engagement on Facebook fan pages back in the day when that was kind of a little bit more active than it is now. And then I found myself very passionate about it, yet being very realistic with my time management skills. And so when I was getting emails from friends of friends, I remember one email in particular. He's now a friend of mine, ironically, but I told him, hey, I don't know you. And I don't have the time to just walk through all this stuff with you for free. Either you can, talk to the friend at the time who I was helping, and he can kind of help you through osmosis, or I threw a number at him that really was just like a go away number. And he's like, okay, what's your PayPal account? And I'm like, oh, people actually really need this help.
Yeah.
And so around the same time,
I just want to highlight one thing. I just want to zoom out for a minute. And, one of the first rules of business is you have an idea. People say, as a business coach, people say to me, how do I know if my idea is a good idea? And one of the things I say is, well, if people will pay for the idea, then that's a great idea. And so the other day I was talking to a couple of clients. I have this coaching group. I do one-on-one and coaching group. And they were saying about, people are calling me once a week for this. And people are calling me once a week for that. I said, okay, well, how long have they been doing that? A long time. All right, well, now create a package and sell it, right? And so I just want to highlight that because most people who think that they're great at something and it comes so fluidly and easily to them, and people come to them, you can charge for that. And some people feel badly about it, but that's called building a business.
Absolutely. It came out of nowhere. I've always been the fixer. I'm the oldest of three boys. So, helping, see my little brothers get, grow up and stuff. I think that's maybe instilled in me. I always love helping, whether it be fitness or working on cars or, this marketing thing, or even the music production itself and the writing and all that good stuff. I'm a builder, right? So whether it be learning video editing myself or audio engineering or everything that I kind of do as a requirement to keep a business afloat sometimes, I really enjoy helping other people do the same. The thing that's so fulfilling about that, not to sound like Tony Robbins or anything, is I'm sure you feel the same way, is when you see those wins, when you see those moments of clarity where they're like, I didn't know I was capable of this. That is I don't have any children yet, but I would imagine it's on the same line of baby's first words or watching the baby walk a few feet. It's like, yes, you finally get it. And so that the education stuff kind of was spurred by people on YouTube asking for an online course or asking if I would help them one-on-one. And then the individual that I spoke about earlier, where I said $5,000, 10 weeks of my time, just thinking he would be like, yeah, forget you. And next thing you know, here we are years later, and I have a successful mentorship program and still doing music all the while, running other businesses. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a juggling act at times, but I enjoy it.
Adam, talk to me about the engagement part, because I know a lot of, we live in a digital world. There's a lot of, I guess, you have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse, TikTok, yada, yada, yada. Talk to me about, from your experience, what should people focus on initially on building their brand?
When it comes to engagement, it's all about the content that's for your audience. It's not for you. It's not to feel special. It's about giving them something that they want, right? And so emotional triggers is typically how you're going to get the most engagement back, because if you can educate, entertain, or inspire people with your content in a way that's paced well so they don't get bored, because we live in an ADHD society. We need to be able to get them the most value in the shortest amount of time in a succinct way that resonates with them, and then get them to think or get them to agree or strongly disagree. We see that a lot with political and religious type postings. But then we have to have that conversation. It's not just about throwing a poster up on the wall, walking away and saying, I hope people see the poster. It's about going and talking about what's up on the wall. So when you can have an audience that, whether it's your personal brand, whether it's your music, whether it's your videos, whether it's your business advice, it needs to scratch an itch that's already there, or get people to think, wow, I really agree with this person, or wow, that made me think of something in a different way. I mean, a perspective piece would be a great example of that. But the engagement is then how people are going to be sharing your content, getting their friends and family to kind of jump on board to what you're doing. It gets those emotional triggers locked in to where they care about you more than the content, because you represent something either within them or something they aspire to be, or somebody that they look to have a voice for something that's super important to them. So you don't have to always do how to, content on YouTube. You don't have to be Mr. Beast and give away $50,000 a video, but you have to have something that's kind of that middle ground of, people are interested because either I'm keeping their attention in an entertaining way, I'm uplifting them, or there's some channels and some accounts that we've all seen that are kind of in the business of being outrageous and getting people to chatter very negatively, but that's their business model. We see that a lot with the 24-hour news cycle is, say some outlandish stuff, whether it's confirmed or not, because it gets the ratings. And so Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it's all about ratings. And so we have to start looking at it like that.
Let's rewind ratings for a minute and talk about just a tight-knit community, right? Yeah. You have a community, a Sell Music community that people join. And in more of a tight-knit community, you can control narrative that's in alignment with what the group needs to really connect with, and then know where to kind of evolve it and execute it independently. And so what does it take to build a community today? There's so many, there's the community app, there's Clubhouse now, which is a different type of community. I'm not sure how I feel about Clubhouse. It's I'm on it a little bit, but there's all these different new communities. Every time you kind of wake up, there's something new, but there's nothing like being able to control the narrative of your own community to what the audience that you're talking about needs to hear. And so what does community building look like today?
I think community is all about getting people to circle around someone who doesn't ride the middle, because we're all sick of that. We're all sick of people placating. We're all sick of people pandering. If you can get a community that's built on actual belief systems, actual strategy, actual causes, and then you're not afraid to kind of maybe annoy somebody with standing your ground with what you believe in, whether it be a marketing strategy, whether it be a growth strategy on LinkedIn, whether it be, motivation for people that want to start their own businesses, or tutorials on how to make music in Logic Pro. It's all about having your system, having your opinion, sticking to it, yet having an open mind to listen to that community and evolve your own view based on what your people are saying. Because if you go into it cynically and say people don't know what they're talking about, I'm the end all be all, you're never going to grow out of that. And then next thing you know, one of those people from your group are going to overtake you because they are willing to evolve. So it's all about knowing that you're in a leadership position within a group. If you're starting the group or if you're part of the group, know that your voice is heard, but do it in a constructive way rather than just going in and saying you're wrong, I'm right. It's all about just like on Clubhouse or community, it's about having the conversation for the greater good of the cause or the purpose or, whatever you're focused on, the niche,
I wanted to switch up a little bit and ask you a little bit of a specific question in regards of running social media. If I'm a company, what is being delegated in regards of how to post and what to post? What should I would say, CEO of a brand post versus to what my team should be posting?
So what a CEO is going to post? I mean, it all depends on what the company is, right? If you're Nike, you're going to be doing branding pieces. You're going to be doing product pieces. You're going to be doing campaign pieces. You're going to be doing cause pieces. There might be a big charity event that you're doing. Every $1 from every pair of Air Max 90s is going to XYZ. Might be just do it campaign. It might be a logo campaign to really push the brand narrative and push the brand awareness. It could be a sponsored post, not sponsored in the sense of like paying for promotion, even though I'm sure that they would be doing that, but it might show Drake or Serena Williams or one of their athletes. So what we're doing is we're balancing the narrative. People don't just want to see the product. People just don't want to see the CEO coming and saying, we're doing this and we're doing that. Those news pieces are few and far between when it comes to a large brand. So whether you're the CEO, a solopreneur, somebody that's building their own company as a one-man band, or you have a team of 5 different people, the buckets should all kind of be in alignment with what you want to push, not only for the brand, but obviously the product offerings, the purpose of why people should care, just like we were talking about with those emotional triggers. So you want strong branding pieces, but you also want to be relatable. You want people to see you as like a human to human brand and not just like a big corporate entity that's all about capitalism. So we really have to make sure that whether you're the CEO, whether you're a digital content coordinator and just posting stuff that the graphic designer puts together, we have to have a balance of multiple different types of posts for Instagram, for example, to keep people interested. Because if you post the same thing over and over and over and over again, we kind of, just like ad blindness, which is a thing, people start kind of glazing over our stuff if it looks so similar. That's why pattern interrupts and a good variety of content is so important.
What gets in people's way? There, to me, it's the mindset, the confidence, the feeling like, they're annoying people. I think people come up with 1,001 ways on why they don't do things. So what do you see as the biggest roadblocks, and what advice do you give to just kind of for people to get out of their own way?
Yeah. So one thing I say all the time on my YouTube channel is use what you have until what you have pays for what you want. So often we get so wrapped up in technology. Oh, my camera's not good enough. My microphone's not good enough. My room is too boring. I don't know how to write captions. I don't know how to engage with people. Like, practice makes perfect. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
99% of the time. So I think that, paralysis by analysis is such a real thing. And like you mentioned, confidence is something that people think sometimes that they're just going to wake up and have. It doesn't work that way. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be authentic. You have to go out there and say, you know what, I'm not going to be perfect, but perfection is subjective anyway. So you need to be able to go out there. And if you're strong, if you feel strongly enough about what you're doing, you should be able to get past that hurdle and say, okay, I might not be ready yet, but I'll never be ready. Just kind of like having kids. You could say, oh, I'm ready now, but are you? So pushing forward in your cause is so important when it comes to believing in what you have to offer the world. I think that's one thing that's very sad, especially in the music creator community, is people have great music and then they compare themselves to people that have been at it for 15 years. There's that old cliche saying, never compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. And it's so true when it comes to like Instagram is no big deal, right? Just because you don't have a blue check mark, just because you have 12 followers, doesn't mean people are expecting you to be, Drake or one of the Kardashians. We have to get past that and say my origin story is so important, not only to the fans, but to me. I want to see how far I've come, because a documentary has never been made from someone who doesn't have origin story content. You never say, I'm going to watch that Lady Gaga documentary and it's just from the last 6 months. Like, typically doesn't happen unless there's a massive event around it. It's like, where did they come from? What adversity have they faced? What hardships have they gotten through? Because it's an inspiration piece.
Yeah.
Just like I said, inspiration, motivation, education. You get all of that out of a documentary typically, especially when it's like an entertainer, because that's kind of the space that I'm in. So I look at it that way. I'm like, I have no problem sharing old, very cringeworthy, embarrassing photos or videos of myself, because this is how far I've come. I want to celebrate that. And so I think a lot of people need to they need to stop thinking that everything needs to be polished and, spending $2,000-$3,000 on a fancy camera. You don't need it. If you got a phone, even if it's not a new iPhone, I mean, it could be an old Android phone. It takes video 99% of the time. Like, do something with that. Yeah. I tell students of mine all the time, they're like, well, I'm waiting for the new iPhone 12 to come out. I'm like, go watch the promotional video on YouTube right now of the iPhone 5. It looks amazing. It looks more cinematic than anything I can do with my 12 or 11 or whatever. Yeah. It's because it's what you do with what you have. It's the skill sets that you can kind of work into what you're using that can make it way better than you think it can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
I have a question in regards of branching out for collaborations, either in business or music. What would be your advice, let's say, if I'm trying to work with someone who has a bigger brand or following and has a little bit more, I guess, feet on the ground in regards of the industry? What would be your tips in regards of approaching someone like that in order to work with them?
Number one thing, never fanboy somebody you look to be a peer with. I think that's one thing that I see over and over again. People will spend the first 2 paragraphs of a DM telling you how great you are, how you're floating above the ground, how they aren't worthy of your time. And that's a huge turnoff in the business world. And as a collaborator, I want to feel like, hey, we're just 2 humans trying to do something, be appreciative without question, but go in with a business mentality. You don't have to tell people your life story. You say, hey, I really appreciate what you've done. Know a little background about who you're talking to, so that you don't come off as like the type that just spams everybody and anybody trying to look for a handout. But it's all about the communication, just like sales, just like marketing. It's all about your messaging. So if you're reaching out to somebody that you want to collaborate with, know a little bit about what they're currently up to. So, have your finger on the pulse of what their content has been recently, address that, and then kind of stand out. One thing is, like, I think the first 60 characters of a DM are kind of like your subject line, because that's what I see as a preview when I get a DM. And it's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Is usually not going to get a response. It's like, we have to go in with a little bit more confidence and turn an idol into a peer and eventually into a friend, possibly. It happens every day in business, and it happens in the entertainment world more than you know.
Let's talk about delayed versus instant gratification. We're talking about music. The Voice is on right now. American Idol is on right now. You have people who want to become an overnight sensation, literally overnight. And there's a process to things. There's a maturity of things. There's a natural progression of things. And so, what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on some of these shows, that give people their big breaks? I mean, you talk about the origin. I mean, the story of, like, I watched the end of The Voice yesterday. The guy who went last, I don't know if you watched it, but his story was, heartbreaking. And then he had all 4 chairs turned around, and, you're so emotionally connected to, to the people. And so just kind of share your thoughts on just that whole experience and culture.
So I think that it's the talent show niche on TV, whether it be The Voice, American Idol, America's Got Talent. It can be great, giving people exposure, giving people their big break. I don't think we have the time to go through the actual business side of it, because a lot of them require the artist to sign a deal before they're ever shown on TV. Therefore, they have first rights of refusal if they do take off, which can be incredibly toxic for somebody's confidence or music career. But anyway, we're not going to talk about the downside. But when it comes to those shows, perfect example of how origin story means more than their talent, honestly, because there's a whole lot of people with a whole lot of talent that are very, very boring. They have like, oh, their father was a realtor, like they paid for vocal lessons. Like they never share stories like that, right? Never do. They're always about the emotional triggers of somebody who has had adversity in their life, somebody who's been passionate and has given up everything in their life to do that one thing. So I think that if somebody uses a talent show such as America's Got Talent, American Idol, The Voice, I mean, the long list of them, I think that's great. I just don't, the one thing that really kind of is unfortunate is so many people will take that as their highlight. They'll come in 15th place and then the rest of their life in their Instagram bio on YouTube. Yeah, I mean they're always latching onto that as their identity, but they wouldn't say, I had a really successful day busking in front of the library in New York and I had 500 people watching me. They wouldn't put that in their Instagram bio, yet right. They would do that with TV. So I think that kind of pigeonholes people into kind of losing themselves. But if somebody's strong enough, that can absolutely help, kick them into a whole different,
whole different world.
Realm. Yeah. So there's a lot of ins and outs when it comes to the TV stuff. There's a lot of ins and outs of going viral for that matter. I mean, a whole lot of people that go viral one time and then they kind of revolve around that being their identity of that one time that they had all those views and a whole bunch of people cared. And then it can be very damaging mentally. So I like the slow burn, like you
started the totally. Yeah.
It has to be developed and it has to be no different than if we wanted to be a sprinter in the Olympics. We're going to be in the gym every day in middle school, high school, college. It's all about that long-term thing, not just, hey, I learned to run last week. I think I should be a gold medalist. Like,
totally. Yeah. I love everything you're talking about.
Hey, Adam, you ready for a speed round?
Let's do it.
My favorite book and why?
As crazy as it is, I've never actually been asked that. There's a book called Black Like Me that I read when I was probably 7th grade. It really put a lot of things into perspective. Being a white boy from central Wisconsin, understanding that other people didn't have it like I did. And it really kind of changed my look on the world. My grandmother, didn't make me read it, but she had it and I read that. And, business books are great. So personal development books are great, but typically you read those until you get a couple gems and then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
That book is it's still down on my bookshelf right now. It's all tattered, but it was a fantastic book written decades and decades ago. I for some reason can't remember who wrote that, but that was a fantastic book.
I love it. Last question. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece. Oh goodness, that's a good one. When I was doubting myself early on, when it came to the education stuff, when it came to helping people on YouTube, helping people coaching, I was really kind of struggling with, people being really mean to me on YouTube, for lack of a better term, asking, like, you don't have any Grammys, why should I listen to you or whatever. And my Uncle Jack sat me down. He goes, look, nobody ever asks Bill Belichick how far he can throw a football. Nobody asked Vince Lombardi how fast he could run a 100-meter dash. It's not about what you can do personally. It's not about your accomplishments, because no matter who you're teaching, they're not going to accomplish exactly what you accomplished in the past. It's about your impact going forward. It's about your leadership skills and the ability to communicate your knowledge in a way that's applicable to those that you're helping. So that really helped my own confidence in what I'm doing. It's kind of my North Star of, it doesn't matter if I have a Grammy. It doesn't matter how much money I've made with my music. It doesn't matter if, I recently said this to my team, I would rather make $1 million a year helping 10,000 people make 60 grand a year than spending all my time and effort making 200K by myself and never sharing any of that.
Yeah. I love it.
Adam, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, make sure you check out adamivy.com. And John, I'll let you close.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I just want to, share a couple things that I think are important, talking about being in alignment, the power of mentorship, emotionally connecting with your audience, the value that you bring, building community, just the whole idea of, having a mentor is so important. You gotta connect and have the courage to ask. That's the only thing I'll say. You gotta ask for the mentor. You gotta invest in yourself, and those are key things. So, Adam, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun. All the best to you and your business. AdamIvy.com. Ish, thanks for the introduction. Think community. If Adam can help you, AdamIvy.com. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Take care.